Hello everyone, welcome to the Jargus Ranger Review. This time we'll be looking at the second episode of Power Rangers Dino Charge, Past Present Fusion. Now before the actual episode starts, we get a bit of a synopsis of this series overview, just like with Megaforce and Super Megaforce. Except this time we actually have scenes from the previous episodes. But part of the narration did spoil a bit of something that we don't see till near the end of this episode, which I don't think should have been done, but I'll address that later on. But it definitely made it sound more interesting than the past couple seasons, which is very good. And now when things really get started, we get taken to a ranch. And now when things really get started, instead of picking it where we left off, we get taken to a ranch. And inside the barn, someone is practicing some martial arts and fencing. And they seem to be pretty damn good at it. Then somebody, who apparently is his brother, opens the door and says it's time to help the pigs. Until their dog, whose name is Rubik's Cube? Why would you name anything that? Well, this little guy runs off into a bit of the woods, and he has to chase him, and he ends up finding him barking at something. It turns out to be Fury. Yeah, he really is still alive. And because it's annoying him, he's about to strike down the dog. Why would you do that, Power Rangers? Don't you know you never go after the dog? Anyway, we see a great new intro, then it goes right where we left off. Fortunately for our little blonde-haired warrior, there happens to be a steel girder or some sort of metal rod right next to him. So he grabs it and starts fighting Fury with it. I mean, he's definitely pretty skilled because he's able to hold his own, but none of his hits can even scratch him. So Fury starts shooting a lightning blast at him, and he's able to deflect them with that thing he's using with a lot of force, but it's clearly overpowering him and it knocks his puny weapon into a rock, which breaks and turns out to have a dinosaur fossil underneath it with another energem embedded in it. Not letting himself get distracted, our new guy runs and tries to pull it out, but then the gem glows green and infuses its energy into his body, and his little thing of metal turns into an actual sword and he can pull it out. Both of them are pretty surprised about it, but the fight continues. And this time, when he slices him with the sword, it actually damages Fury. And once the furious attacker tries shooting another lightning shot, he deflects into a tree branch that lands on him. And whoever he is, he's not totally oblivious because he goes and grabs a gem because he knows something is strange about it. And when he takes it, he sees a flash in his head of a dinosaur. But he's still confused. He's also not stupid because as soon as his dog is okay, they run off. Because he ain't gonna deal with whatever they were fighting, that's for sure. Flashback to an unknown amount of time later. Can't be too awful long. His family is sending him off because he's going to a dinosaur museum for the summer. For why? They don't really know. But he takes off doing a green moped, and his brother gives him the manual to fix it if it ever needs to be. We'll see how well that turns out. Man, this guy sure has a lot of green. It's almost as if there's something special about him. But now we cut to where things left off, and Shelby and Tyler are still driving back. Now we cut back to where the last episode ended, and Shelby and Tyler are still driving back to where they came from. Along the way, they're wondering what's up with the energens, what they are, why they're inside dinosaurs, till they see our Mr. Green on the side of the road. Apparently his moped broke down already. Of course they stop to help him, but he says he's okay, he's got the manual. Except a truck drives by and its wind blows it all away to pieces. Basically makes them a traveling trio now. So after our people can barely introduce themselves, they see another issue on the side of the road. Apparently a car was turned over, upside down, and a man was stuck on it, and his wife was calling for help. So the three try to help, and our newcomer notices it's leaking gas, so they try to push it up as fast as they can. And the energems start glowing in their pockets, and they end up pushing straight up into the sky where it explodes. And the guy seems to be just fine, but their car, they ain't getting that back. Good luck putting that on your insurance. But the three are also in awe of what they just did and stare at their gems. To which our new guy says, "You're going to the Dino Museum, right?" So they finally get there. For some reason Tyler asks if that's the museum. Except why would you need to ask? You were just there at no more than a few hours ago. They probably meant it for the new one to say it and they just kinda screwed that up. Anyway, Shelby takes them over to the loading dock in the back. She sees Chase and Coda, but they disappear on her. Then Tyler sees a big fossil of a dinosaur now. He tosses the phone to Shelby so she can get a selfie of him inside it. One problem though, his hand moves a tooth and he ends up falling down inside of it. And when a blonde-haired, green-colored guy takes a look, turns out it's a secret passage. Apparently he don't care and just jumps right in. Of course Shelby is a bit cautious but ends up going down in there anyway. Turns out it's a bit of an underground cave with a lab in it. One wall has some blue and black energems already embedded in it, and they apparently recognize as some sort of power source thing. How they recognize it, it's not sure. But their own gems get magnetized out of there and get embedded in there as well. And before our kids can look around more, Keeper appears behind them. Somehow he's still alive, and he quickly explains the origins of the energems and how they were with dinosaurs and they bonded to our new characters. Even more surprising, Chase, Coda, and even Morgan come out from the side. She goes up to our two guys and explains to Tyler that he got his because he went out of his way to help someone in need, and our new guy, who is Riley, got it because he fought bravely. But as for Shelby, she has no idea. Of course, Riley doesn't believe it at all. In response to that, Chase and Coda just call their energems to them, hold them in their hands, and it shows off some dinosaur spirits. Then Keeper explains that they must become Power Rangers to find the other 5 gems. Tyler seems to be really into it. He says, yeah, I'm gonna do this. And Coda just says, welcome to our team. It's a bit something odd about how he's talking. I'll address that later. But as soon as they're all introduced, some alarm goes off. Turns out there's some new seismic activity going on. And so the Rangers are all sent out on their first mission. Of course they grab their energems and go with them, along with their Dino Chargers, which Morgan, whose first name is actually Kendall, explains that she created them to be like a battery to take energy from the Dino Gem. But they have to be recharged eventually. And that's why this is called Dino Charge. Our one problem here is Tyler though. He can't access his power. As it turns out, when they bonded with him, it woke up the T-Rex sword. So he's gonna have to deal with that before he can harness the power of his energem. So now there's a volcano about to erupt, thanks to the axe of our monster from last time. It turns out when the bonding is fully complete, the Zord will awaken. The T-Rex Zord this time doesn't look ugly, muddy mess like it did last time. So Ice Age is freezing stuff. There's a bunch of reptilian monsters all over around and people running away. But the T-Rex Zord is just wrecking him all on its own, until Ice Age freezes it and it can't move. Of course our boy Tyler shows up, and they taunt him thinking he's going to give him the energem. He says nope, he tosses it at the T-Rex and it frees him completely. And finally, on his own, he does an actual morph for the first time. Does a few cool poses with the blaster, then he spins it and he pulls the trigger. And it's got a really nice animation for how it's done. His whole body except for his head is glowing of the ranger color he is. And then the head of his bonded dinosaur spirit comes in, goes right over his head to make his helmet. Pretty badass looking actually. So he starts fighting those little monsters for a bit. He keeps calling his Zord Rexy. I hope that doesn't become a regular thing. But now those ran up and we got to fight him. And they're all about to morph, and Shelby took the lead and was about to do it, but she couldn't activate her Dino Charger. And so then Coda pointed a little switch on it and says, you have to push that. It's like, oh, yeah, we got Pink Ranger with some good personality this time. I like that. So the other 4 get their own morphing done. And they all have some impressive abilities. And Kodo is just a big grappler and just taking him down with his bare hands. Even when he uses his blaster, it's still just a big heavy blast. Shelby's taking him with rapid hits and also has some weird kick where her feet shine and it hits him for massive damage. And Riley, of course, is taking him down with his sword like normal. He don't need to shoot with that. And of course the T-Rex is still fighting. I noticed that when one of the big monsters exploded, It actually made the cars in the street shake from the force, which is a really nice touch and small, and I think a lot of people won't notice. But now to finish off Ice Age, Tyler jumps into T-Rex's mouth and then it shoots him back out of super fast, where he does another attack, calling the Dinomorph for final strike. Of course they all go back in to the little cave. Keeper's plotting that something can't be. Now Keeper kinda has this Master Splinter air to him now. And Riley is saying he can't wait to tell people back home, but then Kendall tells him no one can know about that. And Chase is talking Bill Sears to Keeper, saying that Fury was the only monster on Earth. And then Keeper explains how that monster belongs to Sledge and the Bounty Hunter, and how he wants the Energems for his own power. But before we can see the Rangers' reaction to that, it shows Sledge in orbit around Earth. After millions of years, who knows what he's been up to? Did he get married? Did he lose his girlfriend? Who knows? But he still has his whole prison full of monsters, and he asks which one of them can destroy a Ranger. And that's where we end off. Now to say this in the past episode, as a way to introduce our Ranger team, it's done it so much better than the past 4 seasons, because we actually really care about what each of the characters is going through, each Ranger. And they're not rushing it either, because by the end of the second episode of Megaforce, we had a whole teams of Zords and Megazord already. So they're actually taking their time for the storytelling this time. Let's hope they keep it up. Though they're still using the final strike terms for Megaforce. At least for that one attack. We'll see what else this one does. And I really like our new Green Ranger. Don't know a whole lot about him personality wise, but he seems pretty down to earth. I mean, kinda reminded me of Zack from Mighty Morphin when he refused to believe this at first, but only in that moment. He definitely has the potential to be really good. Tyler, even though he has a serious backstory, I think he's a bit too enthusiastic about this, and that might get him in trouble later, which could lead him to some moments between him and Kendall or Keeper about his duties as a Red Ranger. Kodo's very strange. He's somewhat... The way he talks, it sounds like he just recently learned English, but he clearly knows what he's doing. Now with Kendall Morgan, this is an interesting choice, because she's a bit like Miss Fairweather in Lightspeed Rescue, a smart scientist who created all the Zords and weaponry, and she's pretty no-nonsense. Now one thing I didn't touch upon though, is when they were about to deploy, Shelby was hesitant, and she didn't go until Morgan said she's clearly not ready. So at that point, that motivated her to say, yeah, she's scared, but she'll do it because she knows more about dinosaurs than anyone. So this lady knows how to push our Pink's buttons. So this has potential to be some really interesting character conflict as the season goes on. As for Keeper, we really don't know anything about him. All he's did was basically create our exposition. So probably be over the next couple episodes what kind of role he's going to have as a mentor. And I hope soon we get to see our Megazord, because I'm really interested in seeing how that works when they can combine their attacks with the Rangers' attacks. That's something I don't remember seeing in Power Rangers, and I thought that was real interesting. So yeah, there's a lot to look forward to in this season, and it's only 2 episodes in. Definitely give this one a watch, as well as the previous episode. Dino Charge has a very bright future, if it can keep things going at the rate it is. Alright, that's all for this time. I'm Jargus here, and thanks for watching. And until next time, let the power protect you.